Hello and welcome back to our channel, Fanny Colby Inspirational. We are so excited to be back with you again. If you are new to our channel, please give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and do not forget to hit the notification bell so that you do not miss out on any of our videos whenever we upload them.
Hello folks, as usual, it's always a pleasure to share life transforming experiences with each one of you.
You should be asking yourself, what is this right here? Well, you will get to know who this our little friend is. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about how we can improve our relationships.
So stay tuned. Interesting how we spend our whole life giving punches to each other.
Don't necessarily have to be physical. It can be verbal and it can also be psychological, but very destructive.
The verbal punches, guess what? They're the things that we say or the things that people say. What we're supposed to do is to hit the middleman. We're supposed to give back punches to the middleman, the middleman, the middleman, the middleman. This middleman right here, the slanderers, it can be the backbiters. And you know what, the big piece, it always centers around money. Money, you know what I'm talking about. It always centers around self-interest.
Sometimes misplaced priorities.
Right, misplaced priorities.
Misunderstanding.
All that bad energy that we allow in. Normally, you know what guys, normally the middle guy is not supposed to be in between us. We're supposed to put our energy in synergy and give the punches not towards one another, not towards each other, but we're going to give the punches away. What is it that you have allowed in your relationship with others that is creating a lot of toxic energy? What are you doing about it?
So how can we improve our relationships? We are going to share with you 5 ways on how you can better your relationship and live a more enjoyable and happy life. So number 1 is communication. You know, communication is super important. So how can communication help improve our relationships?
Well, I can say that communication comes in first of all, meeting with the people, realizing that the problem is not the people that we think are the problems. The problem is somewhere else. And so in order to explain that, we need to talk to the people. We cannot want to solve this type of issues without talking to the person. When we talk to the person, then we may realize that we were misunderstanding them. We may realize that we had a wrong interpretation of what was going on. I mean, we are just giving ourselves a chance for clarity to settle in.
Okay, so but let me ask you. So what if you decide to communicate with whosoever the relationship you're in, and it instead escalates, like it doesn't help? Because sometimes, you know, you can communicate and that communication does not help, it doesn't work.
Well, that's exactly right. And that is why there are so many ways to handle it. For example, the humility that accompanies the person who is wanting to communicate is very important, because if you clothe yourself with humility, then that will encourage you to think that you can approach this person, be it your spouse or your friend or a family member, whoever that is going to help you to get closer to that person and then talk this out. So there's always a way out when there is the will.
That's true. One more question.
Okay.
So do you think that is also important for like timing in terms of communication? maybe if the atmosphere is tense at some point in time, maybe communication may not really work at that time. Do you think that one can wait a little bit when the environment is calm down a little bit before we get together and talk?
That's exactly right. Because timing is critical in merging the ideas together. Misunderstandings and miscommunication and all of those things that come in between the two people or the two parties can cause them to have very bad energy. And so when that bad energy is still in the air, it is not a right time to come together. So it's always good to allow some reasonable time for the dust to settle before the parties can come together and talk things out.
I love that. So the second point, to improve relationships is it's important for us to have genuine care for people, to show love and care, right?
That's exactly right. But the reason why all the strifes and all the bad energy that the middleman that we allow in between the two parties that are meant to be together, that bad energy comes in most of the time because of the self-interest that guides and defines the relationship. Whereas we are supposed to show genuine care for one another. People know when you have them at heart.
That's true. And I think that one needs to sacrifice. With care, love, there is sacrifice to it. So when we show some form of sacrifice and let go something, then we can be able to, be more genuine, right?
Yes, that's very right. And also to understand that we're in the same boat. It's just like if you were sitting on a tree and you or whoever that other party is, and then you're trying very hard to cut the trunk of that tree where you all are on. What's going to happen?
You're hurting yourself.
You get hurt.
Yeah, you do.
And so wisdom requires that we do not cut that tree on which we are all seated.
So we need to protect each other.
You got it right, girl. You got it right. We need to protect each other. That's exactly what we're supposed to do.
So the third point is, let's reason together. God, at some point when his children fail, he would invite them. He said, come and let's reason together.
That's exactly right.
Tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, what's a big deal, to reason together around the same table? Honestly speaking, if you have to look at things from a win-win perspective, if I have trouble with you or misunderstanding or whatever, we already established that we are not supposed to give punches to one another, but that the middleman guy to combat, not one another, because we're on the same boat together. And so if we know that we're on the same boat together, what do we have to do then? We have to reason together on the same table.
And generally around a meal. That is,
God,
it's always good. But
you are just hitting the nail on the head.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So we have to do those little things that will de-escalate the situation, that will bring down the tension, that will create a convivial atmosphere. And so once that reassurance has been established, then we can sit down together while we are talking over a good, spicy, delicious meal. We can talk these things out.
You're right. So the fourth point is, whenever we get to sit down, whether it's a dinner or lunch, enjoying our meals, let us define our common interests. Sweetheart.
That's exactly right. You are getting it all on point. When we sit down, we must define our common interest. Sitting down is not just like having a good meal together, talking, chit-chatting and all the likes, which by the way are awesome. They're great.
Yeah.
That's why the round table is all about.
Because we don't want to cover up, right?
That's
we don't want to cover up the real issue.
That's exactly right. But we want to de-escalate the situation.
Yeah.
But get past that. We have to talk. We have to cut to the chase. You know what I'm talking about? We have to bring those divergent interests on the table and discuss those interests out. Understanding that We have to protect those common interests, understanding that those divergent interests can be put together so that we mutually gain from them. Once we sit together around a good meal, we can always U-turn and we can always put back those differences into the right perspectives.
And I just want to reiterate, do not cover up those things, because
That's
once
right.
you cover them up, they get piled up. So you can sit in front of a meal and you're eating and you feel like things are taken care of, maybe because you smile over the meal and things like that. No, don't forget what the problem is. Talk about it, you know.
That's exactly
because
right.
when you tend to pile it up, at some point, what happens?
It pops back up.
Yeah.
It pops back right
Yeah,
up.
it will always pop back
And what happens, you know, what happens when those bad things pop back up is that they can really ruin the relationship.
Yeah, things
you know
get
what I'm
worse.
saying?
Things really
Things
get worse.
But
Yeah.
it's important to seize the opportunity of the good meal.
Yes, yes.
Think about the good meal.
What is your good meal?
That's right. It is going to help you with your tone, and you will just have the right tone to pass the right message.
Yeah, and I would just add that love should guide you. Let love be our motto, so that we do not just, communicate in a way that will hurt one another.
That's exactly right, because the Bible says that love
Love
never fails.
Yes. So the fifth point is, let's get to a compromise after sitting down, enjoying a meal and having a good talk, because that's going to help our way forward.
That's exactly right. You got it all right.
Yeah.
The compromise is critically important because it helps us to define those terms and conditions that will guide our moving together going forward. Why this is so important is because when people who love themselves, whether it's in a relationship or whatever, people who love themselves, they do not want to live on the basis of constant conflicts. They want to set the basis for their future interactions. They want to define the premises for a healthy relationship going forward. And that is why defining the compromise or getting to a compromise is very important. Also, getting to a compromise is very important because it is a way for us to acknowledge that in spite of our differences, we can get to a midpoint.
That's true.
Okay? We may not exactly see eye to eye, but in the course of having the good meal and talking the good talk and talking with our heart, letting our heart speak instead of just our brains and our selfish intentions, that is going to help us to define those solid grounds upon which we can keep moving together.
That is so true.
Yes.
Like, for example, when we talk about parenting,
Yeah.
because the man and the woman are different, they may have two different styles of parenting.
Yeah.
And sometimes the kids can be confused, right?
That's exactly right.
And there can be conflicts between the parents.
That's right.
So, but then if there is a kind of midway on how to bring up the kids as a couple, then it's going to help, the parents to be able to know the best way on how to cater for their kids moving forward.
That's exactly right. So that's what the compromise is all about.
Yeah.
Is that sitting on the table is an opportunity to realize that it's not necessarily a matter of a wrong point against a right point.
Yeah.
But it's more a matter of differences in perception,
That's true.
which we can put together and get the way forward of what we are called to do together.
Beautiful. I hope you guys got something out of the video. We were so blessed sharing this information with you all. Please continue to watch our videos. We trust that God is going to continue to inspire us so that we can provide you with beautiful content.
Allow the good spirit, the good energy to guide and accompany your everyday actions.
Yeah, and we'll be back with you next week. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.